Hello, welcome. Hello, hello, welcome. I'm trying to see if this is where I wanted me to be. I'm in a different part of the house today, hoping that we can solve
Can you
a
hear that the
mystery. Scooby Doo. Oh,
Can you hear that the music is still playing really loud?
I don't hear music playing loud.
Now it's over.
Oh, okay. Lovely. So, hello, welcome. I am Jennifer Rose, and welcome to Rose Tarot and Astrology channel. I am an intuitive tarot card reader and a psychic, and my wife Melrose above me is an astrologer, tarot card reader, massage therapist, energy worker extraordinaire, and just my sweet love. And we are here today, every Sunday at 10 a.m. Central Standard Time, to talk with you about the astrology for next week. And I know that we have a full moon coming up, so that's pretty exciting.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and I do want to say, if this is your first time, welcome and thank you so much for joining us. If you haven't already subscribed, please do so. That would really help us out. We would really appreciate that. Um, so, uh, what we're going to do here today, if this is your first time here, we are going to, Mel is going to do a segment called Astrology Today, where she talks about the astrology and the astrological aspects that are happening next week. And then Mel and I will get back together and talk about more about the astrological aspects for next week. And then we will do a two card ish, a tarot card reading at the end there. So, about 30 minutes in, if you're here for the tarot card reading, give or take, depending on how long winded we're feeling today. But that is how that is how this whole thing is set up. So,
Yeah.
welcome, Mel. How are you doing this morning?
I am feeling great this morning. It's a beautiful morning outside. We have sat in the sunshine and watched the dog obsess over moles and holes and enjoyed the spring green out there and the beautiful weather. So I'm all set up and ready to go. Uh, This week, it is Mercury, Venus, and the moon doing most of the talking. First, I want to say just welcome to the new people that we have on board. We went out last Monday for a 420 event at Relief Resources in Grandview, Missouri, which I really like Relief because it's independently owned and it's just a great shop. But and they're open 24 hours. What's not to love about that?
Yes.
Uh, but they just let us go set up a tent there and read tarot at their 420 festival, and we read tarot and we sold incense and set smudge sticks and tarot cards, and we met a lot of really lovely people, and we're so happy to welcome you guys to our little growing online family of witchy woo and probably stoners too. So thank you for being here, everybody. This week it's Mercury and Venus and the moon doing most of the talking, and it all starts today, Sunday, April 26, 2026. There's a certain rhythm to that, isn't there? The sun is now in Taurus. So, in our outward facing lives, which is like our work, social, and civic lives specifically, we're coming around to focus on more practical concerns. It's more about a solid foundation, safe shelter, a well stocked pantry, if you will, metaphorically or in reality. So, we're seeing to and working for conditions that give us confidence in putting down roots. And today the moon is in Virgo, so it's a very earthen vibe, fixed and mutable, where our outward lives are thinking about stability, our inward lives are thinking about particularity. We are encouraged to edit our work, weed our gardens, clean out the fridge, and in general, move out things that don't belong where they are sitting. This Virgo moon happens to be a waxing gibbous moon, which means also that it's rounding out a little more every night. As you see the moon in the evening, it'll be getting a little bigger every night, and it will be full on Friday. But for now, in the waxing gibbous phase, we are invited to complete something important, whether it's big or small. Tie up loose ends and put the scraps in the recycling. You have about 6 days to come to a good stopping point on your work for the for this creative cycle. Welcome back to Astro Insights, friends. I'm Melrose, and this is the astrology for the week starting today, Sunday, the 26th of April. Some very significant stuff is happening this week, including Beltane, our yearly celebration of spring's midpoint, and the Scorpio full moon is coming up this Friday as well. But to start with today, like I said, Mercury and Venus and the moon do much of the talking this week. Venus is now just in Gemini and it's having a productive conversation today with Neptune in Aries. And they're both really at the beginning of their signs. Venus in Gemini is looking for intellectual stimulation, and Neptune is having some new and fiery ideas about spirituality and about our fundamental interconnectedness. I feel like there's a message of compassion here that is culminating, that is being written or defined, and it wants to sort of catch fire and spread everywhere all at once. I don't know if that makes any sense for us all, but if we're looking out into the world, what we're seeing probably shocks and dismays some of us, and it's really making us think about our place in things like what it is that we're going to stand and fight for, what we feel spiritually connected to enough to say, this is right and this is what I'm going to stand for. And this is that kind of message of compassion that I think is going to start going around, is like the thing that we want to stand for is compassion. The thing we want to stand for is being the good we want to see in the world. Also today, Mercury squares off with Jupiter. Mercury is in Aries, and that makes us, that influences us all to be a little irascible, a little punchy with our language, perhaps a little too blunt sometimes. Jupiter is in Cancer, saying whatever you feel, it's going to grow. Whatever you're feeling about, whatever it is you're thinking about, and whatever makes you feel something intensely, that's going to grow. So whatever feelings you're focusing on, that's what's going to grow in the world. Usually I would phrase this as a warning against, saying too much when your feelings are very, very big. And for those of us who worry about those things, I think that may apply. I worry about saying too much when my feelings get big. I like to give myself some time to think about it and measure my words. But for the rest of us, I also see this as an opportunity to communicate our goals and to also communicate about the obstacles we face, and to say those things, to share those things in a passionate way that others can connect with, so that we can get support and we can get the involvement of the people around us in helping us reach our goals. We've got to enroll our team, so to speak, in the path that we want to follow. So there's a sun in Taurus, there's a moon in Virgo, practical earthen vibes. And then Venus and Mercury are having conversations with Neptune and Taurus. And there's this message of compassion, of passion being a part of compassion, right? And an opportunity to speak to others or to share with others creatively in a way that inspires. And that's how we're entering the week, friends. Grandly and gracefully, like a Grecian urn. Fortunately, we have a couple of days to sit with these vibrations, to feel them, to work with them. The moon is always on the move, taking up conversations with the other planets. Tomorrow, for example, the moon has a facilitation of sorts with Jupiter, which reinforces that message to feel what inspires you so that you can share that inspiring message with the world. And then early on Tuesday, the moon moves on into Libra, where Venus is in charge. And when the moon is in Libra, it's a good time to look at the partnerships in our lives and make sure we're giving as good as we get. We seek balance in these contacts, and where we can't find it, there may be something we can do to level the scales again. And sometimes that means like adding a little more to our portion. And then sometimes it means taking a little off of our portion so that we can feel like Everybody is well supported in this relationship, in this partnership. All the people that you keep close, all the people that you work with, these are your partners in life. And we need to keep the scales level. We need to feel as though nothing is owed on either end. Or as though, the trade, the reciprocity is balanced. A little later on Tuesday, Venus makes a trine to Pluto, a very easy and generally positive vibe, a bit like an updraft. It feels, like I said before, Venus is in Gemini and looking for mental stimulation, intellectual connection. Pluto, I think, is going to show us a change in our preferences, or more to the point, a preference for variety in our contacts and collaborations. This means we might be shown somebody new, we might be meeting somebody new, we might be introduced to new ideas and ways of doing things, new ideas and ways of collaborating with others. However it comes up for you, it can look like something that's a challenge to navigate for sure. But my guidance, the guidance I'm receiving, is to trust this energy that says you can step a little bit outside of your comfort zone and find a broader audience, or find a broader collective of collaborators. The moon moves on again, this time into Scorpio on Thursday, the 30th. And then the full moon in Scorpio culminates around 12:25, right after noon here, Central Standard Time. I'm in Kansas City, Missouri, on Friday, May 1st. May Day, Beltane, spring's solar and lunar midpoints in conjunction with the full moon in Scorpio this year. What does it all mean, my friends? Well, Beltane on Friday is our yearly observation that the seasons continue to progress at this point. We can look around us and see that we are in the heart of springtime. I love that spring green color on all the trees, all the leaves bursting out. This is our halfway point in space and time between the spring equinox back in March and the summer solstice coming up in June. The hours of daylight now dominate the sky, and the days will continue to grow longer. The sun rises earlier and sets later every day until June. This is that warm time of year, friends. The full moon in Scorpio is our invitation to celebrate strategies and tactics that have paid off over the last several months. Traditionally, in many places, there's a bonfire celebration under this mid-spring full moon, and it's like a very sexy dance party where folks celebrate fertility and do magic to protect their newborn livestock and other young, young the youth of their whole flock, including young humans and animals and plants as well. I don't expect any of you to dance naked around a fire or sneak off into the bushes with a stranger this Friday, which is traditional for Beltane, unless that's really your thing, of course. But I do invite you to find your own creative and authentically personal ways, Scorpio, authentically personal ways of celebrating the fertility of life that is burgeoning all around you and honoring the need to protect it as it grows. And I know that Jennifer is going to have so much more to say about this Scorpio full moon. So I'm going to move on because as if all that weren't enough, this Friday, Venus and Mercury want to make their chime-ins as well. Venus is going to have a cooperative conversation with Saturn this Friday, and that conversation allows us, I think, to call in some new practical approach to how we're relating. Okay, so if we see, when the moon was in Libra, if we saw that something was out of balance in one of those relationships, or if we just feel that something is not connecting correctly for us in one of those relationships, or we're not connecting correctly with the things that we're trying to call in, we're going to look for or discover, or something is going to be shown to us that says, hey, here might be a better way to get that thing that you're trying to call in, or here might be a better way to collaborate with this person. And it really has to do with what's practical. Okay, the option that's offered is a practical option. It's an option that builds a more solid foundation. It might not seem as fun, but it definitely will help if you follow that guidance to strengthen the bond. Then Mercury makes a conjunction to Chiron in Aries. Mercury, like I said, can be aggressive or very assertive in the translation of Aries themes of confrontation and conflict and power and progress. Chiron in Aries has had us for several years now working on those wounds of childhood, figuring out what and how and who to forgive or just let go of. And I think some irritable conversations might come up this Friday with the full moon. I often find that when I've been working to resolve old, long-standing problems, it can pay to speak very plainly about what I see as an obstacle. It may cause a little bit of a hubbub. There might be a little bit of conflict around us, but just hang in there and advocate for yourself. And I have to say this often, but I think that it's important to remember, that when you really need to advocate for yourself, it's usually at one of those times when it's really not fair that you should have to push that hard. It doesn't feel fair that you should have to ask so much or to remind people so much, or to reach out to the professional or whatever it is that you need to do. It can feel like it's a burden. It can feel like it's extra, and that you shouldn't have to work so hard to advocate for yourself. But if something comes up, especially this week, that you realize that there's something in your life that isn't connecting correctly or doesn't represent you properly, maybe your message didn't get across correctly, or maybe you're just not connecting with the things that you need and desire very well, then it's time to speak up. It's time to really get to the point and say the concise thing that says, this is what I need. And keep advocating for yourself. Keep doing it. It's worth it. You're worth it. Okay. After Beltane and the full moon on Friday, the moon is going to move on Saturday night into Sagittarius. That's a very social and lucky moon. It's a good vibe for getting out and expanding your circle of friends and inspirations. Because it's after the full moon, it's also a good time for just cutting loose a little bit, relaxing, not like party style, but really just sitting back and reflecting on how the last few weeks and how the last few days have gone for you, how you feel about this most recent set of culminations in your life, and start thinking about what went well and what might go better next time. That's where we'll be at the end of the week. And that's where I will bring this week in astrology to a close, friends. Thank you for tuning in. Remember to subscribe to this channel if you haven't already. We sure do appreciate you showing up for this. And now I'm going to ask Jennifer to come back in and join us so that we can talk about our favorite astrology for the week. I think that she said she was pretty eager to talk about the full moon in Scorpio. And since my true love, Jennifer Rose, this is my wife up here, y'all. Since my true love is a Mercury in Scorpio, she should be very well equipped to translate this full moon in Scorpio energy for us. I would say she is very well equipped for it. Hello, my dear. Welcome back.
I've got my microphone on now.
All right.
Hello. Well, I do have a lot to say about the full moon in Scorpio. However, I'm not going to give a lot of information about that right now because I'm going to do some advertising for some full moon in Scorpio readings that I'm doing this week. But as far as the astrology for this week, I am still honing in on that full moon in Scorpio mixed with the Chiron and Aries. So this is really personal for me as I'm composting old ideas of just old ideas, period. They're just like themes and old ideas that I'm composting. I really am reluctant to go with just like the old and traditional ways, which is completely opposite of who I was probably 5 years ago. Maybe, I don't know. Maybe I'm misrepresenting myself in that way. But so I had a blast from the past kind of happen. Some people that I knew in my past who are controversial. They were wildly supportive and also wildly abusive at the same time. And I was reminded of a reason why, like I was okay not seeing them again. If I did it, I wish them well. I don't have any, anything like that. But so I feel like that was my glimmer into the moon in Scorpio with the Chiron and Aries, because we have Chiron and Aries, and it's time to be healing these past wounds. So I feel like I had that spark that happened, and now because it's happened not just to me, but this was at a friend's house, and then I was, of course, with Mel. I do think that a conversation is going to happen, and while I always react in the way that I think people want me to react at first, when I really get to thinking about the situation, I always change my mind back to who I really am and what I really think about a situation. And so I'm just letting all that kind of soak in right now. And that conversation that I have with my Mercury and Scorpio, I'm going to get deep with it. And if there's something that's not being said, I'm probably going to be able to figure out that one question to ask that's going to get to the point where I need it to be. And then it's going to be healing, regardless of whether it's good or bad. Like endings and beginnings, they're both stressful. It's all the same kind of anxiety or stress, but it is going to be a release of sorts and a new beginning.
Yes.
Scorpio loves that composting. We don't ever die, y'all, especially if we go into the ground.
Yeah.
We come back, we multiply, we don't ever die.
Yeah, no. No.
As far as I'm concerned. And so anyway, I'm looking forward to that healing conversation. I'm holding myself to be firm, but not overly aggressive, and assertive, but
Mhm.
not overly aggressive with my conversations with people. And I'm ever so grateful that I have my wonderful therapist, Nick, tomorrow to see his face and to discuss what we know is kind of coming in, and it really goes along with the themes that we're already discussing. So I know that I'm getting ready to have a closure that I may or may not like. And it's just going to be one of those times where, you just kind of have to pause and be like, oh, that sucked. And, you just kind of run it through your head again. But for me, it's like, yeah, but it had to happen. So we got to go, we got to move forward. It's kind of like I'm really hoping that after all these times of knowing when to put my old dog or old cat down, that finally, after all these times, like this time, I'm going to know when.
Yeah, this
It's the most
time.
perfect time. I'm not going to spend the thousands of dollars and be gaslit by veterinarians on the vitamins and the acupuncture. Of course, I'm going to do everything that I can, but at some point it just becomes, about how much can we get out of this situation sometimes,
Or
unfortunately.
or really, like,
As Nadia Shaw says, sorry to say, sometimes it does happen. Sometimes, we got to make a buck because we're in end stage capitalism. But we're also healing, y'all. And that's what's the most important for me this week. That Chiron and Aries, my Mercury and Scorpio, full moon in Scorpio, combined with all this newness, this spring, and everything that Mel was talking about. Like, I think this is the perfect time to start something new, to plant the seed, to get it going, to really put some energy behind this rather than a bunch of air. So action, action, as
fire,
opposed to
fire.
just, yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah, you've already given thought to all of this. There's nothing else to think about, okay? You
yeah.
know the answer. The biggest thing is just taking that leap, taking that step, doing that thing, like just setting it off, popping it off,
There's so much Aries warrior energy in the world, in the air right now, and I want to remind you that Aries and Scorpio are ruled by the same planet, which is Mars. Mars is currently in its rulership in Aries, like, so a lot of stuff that's going on is ruled right now by Mars, happening in Aries, including that full moon that's coming up on Friday is ruled by Mars and Aries. And I just want to say that anybody who's who's got a strong Scorpio disposition, okay, and I mean this for Aries as well, but I'm talking to the Scorpios right now. Anyone who's got a strong Scorpio disposition, has a focus in their life that is around how do I maintain my individuality, my authenticity, my personal boundaries and structure, while also being of service to those that I love and those that I keep close and those that I concern myself with. And that's, I see that coming up in the conversation a lot these days. It's hard to get that balance sometimes between like taking care of myself and taking care of everybody else. Most of us in this world are caregivers of some kind. Most of us are in some kind of customer service or, just some sort of service to other people. And so, I just want to, remind you that we are asking you this week to look at that balance and those relationships that you have with your bosses, with your coworkers, with your partners at home, whether they be family or your spouses or your lovers or your, everybody that you have to deal with every day. You really need to be looking out for the balance in those relationships and making sure that you're trying to give as good as you get and that you're doing it from the heart authentically. Yeah.
Yes. I do want to point out while you were talking and you were talking about Mars being in Aries and its rulership, et cetera, that's pretty powerful. So suffice it to say, somebody tried to shoot at the president or was shooting at the president again.
Mars, yes.
We should expect death. So, like all this time there's been war. There's so much that we haven't talked about, but there are actual, physical lives that are, being lost during this time. And Mars is a warrior, and Mars is not going to shoot you in the shoulder if they get an opportunity. They're not gonna, throw the arrow at the leg. They're gonna take the whole thing, and then they might eat you.
Questions later, for real.
Yeah. So, it wasn't shocking. I mean, like, how many times now that has somebody taken a swipe at President Trump at this point? And it's just not shocking that it was happening during this time.
Yeah.
I don't know what to think about it. I just think every single time that we try to take a swipe at someone, and I'm just not talking about now, and we miss, I think in this country that really loves its guns, and the Second Amendment is the biggest, baddest, most, wonderful thing in the whole universe, we can't hit a fucking target. We can't hit our target, people. Like, what the hell? So we need better instructions and guidance on how to use our guns.
Yeah,
but I mean, like, in a for real moment, like, so this person is trying to, unfortunately take out the president. Okay. But in a real world situation, could that person hit their target even if they were self-defending? Probably not.
Right.
I mean, so shit.
Yeah, they got better. They did a little bit of target practice and
practice your gun, clean your gun, know your gun. I mean, like, you got to do all that stuff. That's really important. And do better, Americans. Like, damn, if you're going to own a gun, you better be able to shoot the damn thing. That's all I got to say.
This is how Jennifer feels about it.
Hit your target.
When we were like, when I was a child, when we were in school, they actually made us take a rifle safety course, didn't they?
Yes.
It was Missouri Conservation, and you have to take a gun
Orange
safety
vest.
course. Yeah. We should all have better training in the use of weapons since they're around us all the time.
Mm-hmm.
I agree.
Yes. I thought that was necessary. My family didn't have guns or anything like that, so I learned a lot in that hunter safety course, honestly. But I really just liked the orange vest that they gave us. Me in bright colors. I was like, hell yeah, an orange vest! You can see me! Yay! Yeah.
So my favorite astrology for the week was the conversations that Venus had. First with Neptune and then with Saturn. If you guys recall, Neptune and Saturn had a big conjunction, and they are slowly drifting apart, but they're not so far apart yet that they're out of orb from a conjunction. There's still some power to that conjunction. And it's an interesting conjunction because Saturn and Neptune, Saturn builds and Neptune dissolves. It's just like, putting the putting the Coke on the battery on the battery gunk. It is the
That's funny. I
Coca-Cola
thought
on the
about put
battery
the
gunk.
lime in the Coke, but
And
you
that,
know
yeah,
what lime I'm talking about? L-Y. I mean,
it's like pouring water on
lime.
mud. It makes it splash away, you know?
Yeah.
So, it's really it's a
Mhm.
dissolving and building, and that they conjuncted, like, right at the beginning of Aries, which is the whole zodiac, that's the beginning of the year, it's the beginning of the zodiac. That they conjuncted right there at 0 degrees is very, very special. It hasn't happened in 10,000 years of astrology, and, it does really indicate new beginnings. It does indicate, like, old things are falling apart and new things are coming to life, and even those things are falling apart, like, we're in one of those rapid evolution phases.
Mhm.
Pluto just moved into Aquarius a couple of years ago, and then just a week ago, Uranus moved on to Gemini, and for 3 years we've been like watching this happen as these large outer planets all move forward together in the time frame. It seems like almost instantly all move forward together, out of water and earth signs and into fire and air signs. So if you follow the elements at all, you know, you understand, like, water and earth, it's very creative, it works together. Uh, but it's, you know, it's about material and emotion. And then fire and air is really more about intellect and action. So we're shifting out of an old way of being that was much more about material and emotion, and into a new way of being that is much more about intellect and taking action. And I know that I've been feeling that. I am an Aries sun, and I've been feeling that super, like, relentless desire to move my body and to take care of business and to make changes in the things around me. If I'm not happy with what I see, I am up and I am moving and I am taking care of it. So, you know, for me, a very lazy kind of Aries person, you know, Aries can be very fiery and also very chill. For me, really being a pretty lazy person, it's been quite a change over the past couple months to just um, not have that desire to sit around so much, and to not really be able to um, do that for very long before I see something that I want to take care of, and I just get up and start taking care of it. So maybe some of you are feeling that too, and you know, like, welcome to the new era. I do want to say that also the Aries energy, and I know I started on a completely different thing, but the Aries energy right now can be really exhausting for some people. It can feel just like it saps all of your energy because there's so much happening around you and there's so much happening ahead of you, and you know, it all asks for your engagement and all asks for you to take action, and maybe there are 100 different directions you would like to take your action in, but Mars is that little circle with an arrow on it which says you are whole and you get to direct where you put your attention, where you want to, what you want to fight for, what ground you want to stand on, and what progress you want to make. So focus in on one thing and move forward with it, friends. um, and Venus making an interaction with that whole Aries, uh, Neptune, Saturn setup this week is very cooperative, and it's very kind, and it's very reciprocity laden. So, you know, you might find people that you can take action with at this time. You might find yourself at a lovely garden party and finding new collaborators or something like that. So, you know, it's a good idea to be receptive to things surrounding that whole idea that we are in a new era and that we are moving out of old materialist and emotional ways of being, and into new intellectual and uh, and active ways to be of being. And that doesn't mean that we stop feeling. It just means that we start using those emotions to fuel our actions and to fuel our goals going forward.
Yes, I love this.
Thank you. I have
I'm
some stuff
ready.
to say this morning. Yes.
It's really titillating all of our kind of big threes too, like what
Yeah.
Neptune, Venus, Aries,
Mhm.
yeah,
Yeah, this
Saturn,
was all happening, like, right next to my Sun and Venus
right? Yeah.
in
So
my chart. So I'm like,
these are
I mean, I think it's just so beautiful and sort of poetic that it was like 5 or 6 years ago that you were right up my butt, Jennifer. Like, you love astrology. What are you doing about it? Why aren't you learning more? Why aren't you doing more with it? You need to start a YouTube channel. You need to do something so that you can learn about it and so that you can share it with other people, because this is something that inspires that you love. And I was like, and I like put her off for like a year and a half before I got started on it. And now we've been doing this for 5 years or so. And wow. Wow.
Yay.
Oh, I
This is
so
a good time to
appreciate
say,
you.
hey, we've been doing this for 5 or 6 years. Please
Yeah,
subscribe.
please subscribe to our channel.
Subscribe to our channel. We're here every Sunday at 10 a.m. Central Standard
We
Time.
love sharing this with you every weekend. Yes.
Oh, thank you, Mo, for sharing that. I'm really happy that we have this opportunity to share this information and, to grow and learn ourselves, with all these different types of divinations and things.
Mhm.
So
Yeah, what I
awesome.
love about astrology and what I love about tarot is that it gives us different things to think about. It gives us different kinds of conversations to have with ourselves and others. Are we getting guidance to look, at the emotion of the thing or the intuition of the thing? Are we getting guidance to look at strictly the facts? Are we getting guidance to take action or to sit back and observe or to, conserve or to give more? Like, that's what it gives us, is things to think about, and I really like that.
Yeah, me too. Sorry, I have some sound going on. And of course, like weirdly enough, like there's just a lot of movement on this side of the house, which is unusual.
'Cause you're in there.
But I'm here, so of course. But yeah, astrology and tarot have been very valuable for me and on my journey to figuring out who I am and who I am in the world, uh, apart from what everybody else wanted me to be.
Mhm,
And knowing my astrology and knowing my astrology chart has been one of the most eye-opening things about how to direct my life or how my life is going to direct me. And,
mhm.
just kind of when to let go of the rails and let it kind of, hang on and, accept the blessings
Whee!
and abundance that come.
Yeah.
Yes. And then also just learn to ride the waves, become water when you're in between rocks. So,
Yeah.
um, I think this is a good time to switch over to divination a la tarot card reading.
It is time for the tarot.
We say tarot. Some people say tarot. I say tarot because I think it's like karaoke, or I'm not
Yeah, I think
sure what the
people,
real. I've listened to it, be pronounced. So it's always
actually,
just like, oh, how do you say it? So I say tarot.
a lot of people say tarot.
Tarot, and it's fine. And however it is that you want to say it,
Whatever
but I
you
say
like.
tarot.
Yeah.
Okay, so two card reading. I'm gonna start off with asking what's coming in.
Mhm,
All right, because at the end of the week we have that full moon in Scorpio. And what's going out? We're gonna be taking care of some business. We're gonna be taking out some trash.
yeah.
We're gonna be going through our trash and seeing if there's. I think actually we've probably been going through the trash and figuring out if there's any receipts we need, and if we don't need anything, we've taken that out.
Mhm.
And now we're just making sure that everything else has been cleaned up and we're, you know,
Yeah,
the dustpan is full. So we're going to empty it. We're going to go on. Right.
take the
So,
trash out for sure.
so what is coming in? Hierophant. So,
Yeah.
some new ways of doing things. What's coming in is a new routine, a new way of doing things, a new way of looking at things, a new way of dealing with the rules or skirting the rules. I don't know. There's still people out there doing taxes, and I think I just really clicked in with people, looking back at their receipts in the trash can. I'm like, yep, somebody's out there doing taxes or wondering about them or whatever. And, so that if that's the case, yes, we're looking, the higher fan is, the rule, the ruler, the enforcer of said rules. And every time I see this person come in, I'm just like, how am I gonna disappoint this person? How am I gonna screw up their system? How am I gonna fuck up their rules. Like, I'm serious. Like, this person is coming way too hard, yo. Like, this is way
I
too
always
hard.
feel like there's no way I can possibly please
Oop,
this person completely, and so I
right.
just kind of
Right.
let it go
Like
and
boomer
be
fans.
myself. Yesterday we had a moment where we met somebody who has a Hierophant representation from childhood, and Jennifer was really happy to see them, but like she said, that they also had a sort of abusive representation in our world, and um, I went in there to introduce myself because I'd never met this person, and I said, "Hello, I'm Jennifer's wife," and the woman goes, "Oh, I see." And then they had to go. So, that was sometimes you just wind up like outing somebody or coming out to somebody as being just something different than what the standard there tells you you're supposed to be, we are all outliers in one way or another. Some of us are just better at hiding it, and some of us
Right.
don't want to.
Yeah, I had a weird reaction to that because I'm not ashamed of who I am, and I didn't feel ashamed of who I was in front of them either, which was awesome for me
Mhm.
because I mean, like these people, were there for me then, but they're not in my life for a reason now. We all still live fairly close to one another. You know what I mean? And
Yeah.
they weren't my actual family, but they did, uplift and support me in a lot of ways that I'm ever so grateful for. But in the same token, like I knew what they were going to think if I introduced Mel as my wife. And for some reason, I wanted to just keep Mel from seeing that side of them. I was just like, let's just remember them as these happy people that I love that used to feed me, that used to tell me weird stories, that, you know what I mean, that kept me
Mhm.
in their house, that took me all sorts of places. Let's just leave it there and not get that cringe or that, oh, okay kind
Yeah.
of thing, because I already knew what was going to happen there.
Mhm.
And so I was wrong for that because I'm not, ashamed of my wife or that I'm married to a woman or anything like that. As a matter of fact, to me, I'm thinking these people are deeply Christian and conservative. I'm thinking, well, at least we're married. You know what I mean? Like I would think like, can we just like get along on that end? Like at least I'm not out pouring around with all of your women or whatever, like can we just say like, well, at least this one is wrapped up with this one. You know what I mean?
Mhm. Yeah.
Like, can we at least just get that? But and so when these
So
people come around to me, it's just like whatever,
yeah, how do you what's coming in is like how do you deal with the man when the man comes to town?
right? When the man just kind of
When
shows
Tom
their
pulls
face.
you over, or when you run into somebody that represents some sort of authority for you, and you're
Hmm.
not in the
Hmm.
context that you normally see them, like how much of yourself do you get to be? And that's entirely up to you.
Hmm. I think it's really important that they showed up where they showed up for who they showed up and everything. I think
Yeah.
it's wonderful, and I was really happy to see. But I also just like that is my Chiron and Aries. Like I know that was if we had arrived 30 seconds later, they might have been gone.
Mhm.
Like it was really about timing. We were early, we were this, we were that. And the universe just was like, here you go.
Mhm.
And then I was like, oh, yeah, yeah, yeah. And still, I'm still that individual person.
Yeah.
Nobody got to control
Yeah.
me because I was emancipated. No one got to tell me what to do as my own person, my own entity.
Yeah. And
And that's what we're learning to do.
what we're talking about here is the Scorpio full moon, and that
Yes.
yearning for personal authenticity, that
Right.
yearning for us to be able to just be ourselves around other people.
Right, right. And like for a Scorpio full moon, I'm just going to be honest with you. Like if you have a Hierophant that is that steadfast on the rules, that is that rigid, then in true Scorpio form, we're hiding shit. And we're probably hiding everything, even if it's
Yeah.
good, even if you would have rejoiced in it. We don't want you to have any of that.
Mhm.
And the Scorpio will do that. So, this is about the rules, and that if the rules don't apply to you, then the rules don't apply to you and do what you need to do.
Yeah.
Okay.
Right.
What's going out? What are we
That's it.
composting? What are we getting rid of? I'm sorry. Did you have something else to say to that?
No.
Oh,
I
okay.
didn't. Oh, the lovers.
What's
Yeah.
going out? This is so, as far as like what's going out, I think really these old traditional ways in which we do things are really being composted then, and they're being turned on their heads in a lot of ways, and they're being morphed into something else. Like, first of all, how we love relationship looks so much different. Who we love relationship with, and all of the parameters around that. Like, even back in the day, it was kind of, what did we have, a Sadie Hawkins dance where the women got to ask the boys out, but in my experience, it was always the girls asking the boys out anyway.
Yeah.
Like, it was really seriously the girls asking the boys out. And so this is kind of like doing things a little bit differently, especially in your relationships, your partnerships, your love relationships, your friendships. Okay. And
Yeah.
what we're getting rid of are those people that don't fucking show up for you. Okay. The people that don't feel this way, that don't give their 50%. What we're getting rid of are those acquaintances that are, like that. So who is it that you feel like you could run into and you wouldn't be able to catch up with? Why are they still, if they're in your life, why are they still, poking around there or whatever?
Hmm.
I feel like I'm picking up on a few people's energies right now, and that's kind of wild. But yes, on the way out is just the way we relationship and our relationships with things. Like
Hmm.
if we don't like what we're doing, who we're doing, how we're doing, if we
Yeah.
don't like that we're craving sugar, or craving alcohol, or doing whatever it is that makes us feel better, this is the time where we're getting ready to get rid of it.
Yeah.
Um, Whether we like it or not. Like, unfortunately, I really do believe that if we don't get on with our shit, like, we know the things that we need to take care of, right? If we
Hmm.
don't get on with it, the universe is going to bring you back to it. And in that way, it could be like, hey, you know what? If you continue eating all that fatty food, you're going to have a heart attack. You know what I
Yeah.
mean?
Yeah.
So, I mean, we really need to think about what it is, how we're going to live. Like, this is life elongation time. And I
Hmm.
wish I had done this in my 30s. I wish I'd known that I could do this, but instead I was trying to please everybody else in my life except for myself. And so make sure that when you're pleasing other people, that you're meeting you halfway with that.
Yes. Also, to me, the lovers is always all about the choices that we're making.
Mm.
And, you know, again, this is an era where we are being called to do something new, called to do something different. Or even if you're going to continue to do the same thing, do it with a different attitude, with a different perspective, doing it differently. Venus is in Gemini right now, so we're looking for more intellectual stimulation. It's less about how you feel, and it's more about, does this person, does this person going to be, is this person going to be a good collaborator for me? And the rest of that stuff becomes a little bit secondary.
Mhm.
And I
Yeah.
want to
And
say that with the lovers, you can make choices that are very distracted, that represent that old Piscean urge to just feel something that you felt before, to
Mhm.
reflect, to creatively remember the things that made you feel great, but you really have to stay focused on the goals ahead of you. We all really need to be more in an intellectual and active capacity now. That's how to be with the energetic program right now. Yeah.
Yes. And it's going to take some strength to get through the week. It's always going to take strength to do what it is that you have to do. And I don't mean have to do as in routine, as in have to do, oh shit, they really said this thing again. And now I'm going to have to deal with it. Like,
Mhm,
maybe you put this thing off once or twice, but something that you cannot turn away from is going to draw your attention here.
mhm.
And I think just as long as you're not overly forceful or overly aggressive with it, and I talk to me in that too, I think that it will be a really powerful moment in time, a really powerful point
Yeah.
in your own personal history.
Mhm.
Um, so I'm
We
excited
all
for that for the week.
Each and every one of us has a lot of personal power under these skies. We just really have to, uh, know like what it is that we are capable of, and know also what it is we want to get out of it. So
Yes, I agree.
yeah.
And yes.
Effort, effort, effort.
Effort. So, that was our tarot card reading for the week. And I just want to kind of add that I'm going to do some kind of a short or a short video or something to let you know what readings I'm offering for the full moon in Scorpio this week. I'm offering pre-recorded readings that can be delivered 24 to 48 hours, more likely 48 hours after you pay for it. You have to prepay. And then I hate talking about payment with this energy stuff, but here I am. Sorry. So there's two prices, $22 for around 20 minutes of guidance and $44 for around 40 minutes of guidance with me. And that can be live, and it can also be pre-recorded. So if you search Rose Tarot and Energy Services or Rose Tarot and Astrology, I don't know how we have it listed up there, but our Square site is probably listed down here somewhere. And I will go ahead and post that. But if you go to the Square site, you can book those appointments with me. I have several days open this week, and the pre-recorded don't need an appointment. So I'm really excited to talk about issues of emancipation, to find your divine expression, to figure out who you are in the world. And I will go into a little bit more detail with that when I do some advertising. But hopefully you will use this energy to further your own personal goals. And anyway, so thank you so much. I got carried away. I was
No,
like,
you did
oh
not.
yes, I'm ready.
I just want to say Jennifer is really a talented, intuitive, and psychic person, and she is wonderful to work with, especially when it is that you're trying to figure out what you want to do and how you're going to get there. So
Yes, I
she's got
am.
that Capricorn rising, and she knows how to make a plan. Yeah.
Yes. So this is some exciting energy happening, and a lot of healing happening. And I'm proud of you already for coming as far as you have come. And we're going to go even further. So just hang in there, hang tight, keep that strength about you. You know what you need to do to get through. Okay.
Yeah.
And then if you haven't already, subscribe to the channel so you can keep up with the astrology every week. And I'm also going to throw a little wrench in the whole plan, and I'm going to start a little new show that I'll talk to you about later. So hit the
Surprises in the
notification bell
works.
if you'd like to know. Surprises, surprises, surprises. So thank you so much for joining Melrose, my sweet wife up here, for Astro Insights Live. Every week we talk about the astrology for the week ahead. And thank you so much for being here with us. And we are so grateful that you're here spending your time with us when you could be doing literally any other thing. So that does mean the world to us. I know.
Yeah.
I know we have some big love for you. Oh,
Much love, everyone. I hope you all
right.
have
We
a
will
great
see you in the next video, and take care of yourselves.
Yeah. See you soon.
Yeah.